Greetings, YouTube. Coming at you here with another deck profile. It's a deck that I picked up recently. The Scrap deck, post Primal Origins. This is a really fun deck, and it can be explosive at times. It can OTK. It's really good deck actually. More so than I thought it would be, but after playing it and watching it, it's performed better than I thought it would, and so I'm coming at you here with the build that I have currently for it. Played it at locals Thursday and didn't do too well, but one of my matchups was against Chain Burn, Life Gain, Final Countdown, bullshit, fucking garbage. So that kind of made me clinically depressed the rest of the day after facing that. So yeah, fuck that shit, and fuck you, Avery, very much for playing that shit. But anyway, we'll get into the deck profile and go over this. Have the 3 Scrap Chimeras. When he is summoned, you special summon 1 Scrap Tuner from your graveyard. Instant Scrap Dragon. Level 4 Exceed plays. He can only be synchro summoned into a Scrap monster, so Scrap Dragon pretty much your only option when you use him. But he is good for those rank 4 plays because he's an instant rank 4. And next I play 3 Sharks. I actually really like Shark. His effect is very fragile in the sense that if any effect at all is activated, be that monster effect, spell, or trap, he instantly dies, and then you send a scrap from deck to graveyard. But he's really good for your first turn setup plays if you draw Factory, where you summon him, activate Factory, he'll die, he'll send Beast or Goblin to grave, whichever you want, and then you'll get to special summon Golem off of the field spell. So he's good for that first turn setup play. So I run 3 just so I can get that opening combo, like a better chance of getting it first turn. But other than that, he's actually really good whenever you like later parts in the game, because if you have Factory out and you're attacking with this guy, your opponent could be hesitant to activate any effects, because if they do, he'll die, and then you might get a like a bigger scrap from deck or a more powerful scrap. Whatever the situation. Like they may not want to set up your field any. They may not want to set up your field uh, before they have to or whatever. So I obviously really like Scrap Shark, and he's 2100, which is really good for a normal summon monster. Then we have the 3 beasts, level 4 tuner of the deck. When he dies by a scrap effect, you add 1 scrap monster from graveyard back to hand. Good for recycling your chimeras. Next we have Scrap Golem. He is the most drawn to of that you'll ever play in your life. I know from experience, which is just awful when you draw into this guy. But with Scrap Goblin, you can tribute summon him, but it doesn't happen often. His effect is once per turn you can special summon 1 level 4 lower scrap to either side of the field, which is that effect actually came in really handy when I was playing against Chainburn, Life Gain, Stall bullshit deck, because I put Scrap Goblin on my opponent's side of the field in attack mode and just rammed into it with all of the scrap monsters I had. They couldn't drop so Scarecrow or Battle Fader to that, so it worked out pretty good. But other than that, he's needed for most of your combos because you use him. You use your main target, you special summon off of Factory, and make your Scrap Twins and your Scrap Dragons or any synchro you want. Let me play 1 Orthros. Right now, I don't see the need for more than 1. That may change. I'm not sure. I'm just now in the early stages of playing the deck. He can only be summoned by special summoning when you control another scrap monster, and whenever he is special summoned, you destroy a scrap monster on the field. That can be himself if you have to. And then when he is destroyed by the effect of a scrap card, you can add 1 scrap from your graveyard to your hand, except himself. Then we have the 1 Goblin. Goblin, I've debated on actually putting up to 2 because he's actually really good in those situations where you don't draw Factory and you can just stall with him. So I might bump him up to 2. I'm not sure yet about that. But his effect states he cannot be destroyed by battle. When he's face up in defense mode, He cannot be destroyed by battle, and uh, but at the end of the damage step that he is attacked or into the battle phase, whatever, he destroys himself, and then you can add a scrap from graveyard to uh, your hand. And that's it for the scrap lineup. Next we have one Redox. Redox will probably come out because I really just don't like Redox in this deck. I mean, the only reason that he's in here is for those moments when I draw a Scrap Golem, and you can pitch Scrap Golem to Reborn Golem. That was the only time I've never banished any scraps because I tend to need them in the graveyard to recycle and use over and whatnot. So I don't like Redux. He'll probably come out for something else, but right now I'm running him just for those moments whenever you draw a golem, you want to get him out of hand. And then last two monsters, we have two effect failures because stopping some effects right now in this game are essential. For spells, we have the 3 Scrap Factories, the newest addition to the deck, is a really, really good field spell. It adds those combos to your deck that just wasn't there before. Now, I didn't play scraps before. I had no idea how the deck worked, but I just see how explosive they can be now because of the field spell. And it gives your scraps 200 attack and defense, which that may not sound like a lot, but sometimes that extra points can just, that's just like, it can be the deciding factor in a battle. We have 2 terraformings. You want your field spell as soon as possible. This deck, it can work without it, but it's an uphill fight without the field spell. But I've been going back between 2 and 3. 3, whenever I run 3, I draw it way too much. When I already have the field spell, I see it too much. When I play it at 2, sometimes I just don't see it enough. So I've been going back and forth. So I'll just have to see how that goes. We have 3 Scrap Storms. Really, really good cards. Draw power of the deck. You target a scrap, send a scrap from deck to grave, draw a card, then destroy the scrap you targeted. Sets off your field spell for first turn, and can do, being a quick play, you can do some shenanigans with it. 2 scrapyards. I think that 2 is really necessary because this deck pretty much searches itself. You recycle a lot with the scraps anyway when they're destroyed by a scrap effect. So I think 2 just to get started in your opening hand when you don't have a lot, I think. As I said, I didn't play scraps before, so I don't really know all that much. You have 3 upstarts. You want to get to your field spell as soon as possible. Thin your deck out. 37 cards, that logic. 1 soul charge. You can fill up your graveyard pretty fast. If your monsters get destroyed, you can just bring them back. You can spam scrap dragons, pop them all off, targeting themselves, and soul charge them back. Soul charge is pretty good, but I wouldn't run it more than 1. You want to have room for other things in this deck. And without your battle phase is pretty essential, I think. That's the one thing that I really don't like about this card. I mean, it is really powerful. You can establish a good field that a lot of times you can't, or your opponent can't get around. But that battle phase, like that one more turn, sometimes is all your opponent needs. And then last card is 1 Book of Moon. I do not run MSTs in the main deck because I feel that as of right now in this current format that scraps they can power through most back row with their effects like Scrap Drag. If you have Scrap Dragon, Scrap Twin, when they're destroyed by your opponent and sent to grave, you special summon scraps from the grave, and then if you have the field spell, it'll kick. So you'll have field presence in that way. So cards such as Blackhorn of Heaven, Solemn Warning, Torrential, Fire Hands, Ice Hands. Well, Ice Hands not so much, but stuff that destroys monsters, Mirror Force. All those. They'll set off most of your scraps effects and factory, so you can just flood the field and then synchro again in main phase 2. So I feel that as of right now, that scraps can just power through most back row. It's just in game 2, whenever they side in stuff, is when you might need your MSTs. Onto traps, we have 2 Call the Haunted, recycle your golems, and then 2 Fiendish Chains. These cards are also good. They're useful for cards to destroy, like targets to destroy with your Scrap Twins and your Scrap Dragons. I don't max them out because of room for other things. Then we have 2 Dimensional Prisons, mostly for Fire Hand. It's not even Fire Hand, more Ice Hand because you want to protect your field spell. We have one torrential. It can set off your factory. One bottomless. And then last card, this card is actually an idea by our very own professor. I want to give a shout out to Travis. Thanks for showing me this because I actually love the idea behind this. There's one Shadow Impulse. A Shadow Impulse states whenever a synchro monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon another synchro from your extra deck with the same level and type but a different name. So what you do is you bring out a Scrap Dragon, target itself with this effect, destroy it, and destroy a card your opponent controls, and then you can special summon Bills from your extra deck. I love the idea behind that whenever Professor told me that, so I was like, give me that shit, I'm trying it out. That is it for main deck. It is 40 cards. Now to the extra deck. 2 Scrap Twin Dragons. Just a really, really good guy. Like, just overall, he's just really amazing. He bounces instead of destroys, so for those Draco sacks on the field, fuck him. But yeah, just 2 Scrap Dragons, Scrap Twins, because that's all I have. And I don't really think that 3 is necessary. I haven't seen a situation where I've needed 3 yet. But I do run 3 Scrap Dragons. This is the most that I go for, just destroying the cards. Works good. So yeah, 3 scraps. And then we have the 1 Archfiend, just in case, and it's a scrap monster. 1 Leo, because we do run the Redox, and we can make him. 1 Bills for the Shadow Impulse, which I stated earlier, I absolutely love. This thing has good, it works good with the scrap monsters because you can target him with Scrap Dragon or Scrap Twin. He can't be destroyed by card effects, so he'll just stay there while you're just popping shit. 1 Crimson Blader. 1 Stardust. I typically tend to, like, if I go first and I can get the combo off, I usually I want to sit on Stardust and some back row. That way I can protect the field well. I can protect, and then like next turn I can protect my scraps whenever I want to go off again. So I tend to start on Stardust. Then we have 1 Black Rose just in case. And then for the Exceeds, I only have 4. Run 1 Diamond Dyer. Most of your scraps are beasts, so you can pop them to get their, or you can just pop them, they won't get their effects because it's not being destroyed by a scrap, but you can. 1 Heartland Draco, this is my new favorite Exceed, hands down. 1 Fairy King, because all your scraps are Earth. And then 1 Ragnar Zero. Honestly, if I had Honor Arc, Exton Knight, these 2 would probably be dropped for those 2, but that's a lot of money, and I don't have them. That's it for extra deck. For side deck, it is irrelevant, but I'll show it anyway. 2 Fossil Dinos, I love it right now. DD Crow, it seems to be really good too, at least at my locals. 2 Electric Virus, mostly for those decks that run Draco Sack, which there's a lot. Just take Draco Sack, tribute itself off, destroy something. Or if I'm playing a Dragon or Machine deck and I happen to open Golem, I can take their monster and tribute summon Golem. 3rd Effect Mailer. The 3 MSTs. 2 goes in match because pretty much your entire deck is Earth, except for the effect mailers, which you're probably not going to summon anyway. Needle Sealing for more mass destruction. Mind Crush. And then last card is Vanity's Emptiness. In all honesty, if I had a second Vanity's Emptiness, I would probably main deck 2 of them, just because you can establish your field and then Emptiness. And it's pretty difficult to get over that unless they have an out like MST and whatnot. But it seems good in theory because you can turn it off anytime with Scrap Dragon or Scrap Twin. But anyway, guys, that's the deck. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the subscribers. It means a lot that you guys subscribe to us, because even though we don't have a lot except for the professor, that motherfucker lost damn money cards. But anyway, it means a lot to us that you subscribe, give us your likes, your comments, your dislikes, whatever feedback. It's always great. And support your local Jerry Beans. Until next time, I might get a recap on Madison because the guys are there today. But anyway, take care, guys. Until next time.